Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. Well, I don't know, you guys in the mood for a Craigslist story? Looks like we got one cooking here. You guys know I bought a 300EX, and that's it sitting over there with the red fender on it. And I got it home, and I was trying to figure out what year it was. And then I started to look for the serial number and the sticker. And I discovered where the sticker used to be. And I discovered where the serial number used to be. And kind of lost interest in the bike. Because I got this thing about putting a whole bike together again and then having it not be mine. So, and if you're riding around and you know somebody wants to look and they see the tag and they see the serial number, normally you don't have too much trouble. I think just owning a bike with the tag and serial number missing is not proper. It's not. It'll, at the minimum, it'll get you attention and perhaps more. So to that end, I've been following Craigslist looking for a valid frame. And you guys could see I found my TRX 300EX 1996 model frame with the serial number and the whole bit. I kind of call this a kit bike. So I have the frame, and the frame's in really nice shape. Even from a paint point of view, the frame doesn't look too bad. It also came with the front A-arms and spindle, both sides, which is good. Came with the front shocks, the front control arms. I think this thing is probably for the headlight. Then it came with assorted small pieces. I'm not quite sure where those two go. That goes to the battery. These are for the handlebars. There's a pair of those. Obviously the foot pegs. This little rubber thing goes over there for the air filter. There's one, and there's the second one. Not quite sure where the rubber shim goes. Not quite sure where that goes. Obviously, the plate to protect the bottom of the engine. The airbox. Also came with the gas tank. And he threw that in. It's made out of plastic. So it's from a modern Honda, whatever it is. Looks like a flywheel cover, chain cover. I don't know, for a newer Honda. Perhaps a 70, XR70, XL70. What do they call them now? CR? I think they moved to CRs. So CR70, CR80, 90, something like that. So anyway, I got everything I need. Obviously, I'm going to clean up this frame. And one wants to clean up a frame for a couple of reasons. One wants to make sure that you're starting fresh, right? Why start out with something already dirty? That's reason number one. Reason number two is you go through and you touch up some of the spots that need paint, or paint the frame as you're cleaning it up. If there's any cracks or problems, one normally finds those during the cleanup process. So I'm really happy to have found this. All this stuff, everything, was a $150 Craigslist deal. Came from about an hour upstate for me, so not far from Hudson, New York. Not at all far from Hudson, New York. Hudson, Kinderhook, that area. The young man I bought this from, he was almost 40. He was an interior space person. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, he worked in New York City and Hudson and all around the Hudson Valley, and helped people make the most of their interior spaces. He lived on a family homestead that was right along a stream. The grist mill that was at the location of where he's building his tiny house is long gone, but the cutout where there was a rail bed along this stream was still there. The old depot was on his family's property. There was there were two depots. There was one for people and an old depot where that actually kind of had a covering, and you would drive a wagon onto a scale, so that if you were removing crops or whatever, corn, to put it on the train, that building was there too. So I guess they're both known as depots. One is a people depot and the other one is a material depot or product depot or farm goods depot or whatever. Those were both still on his property. Had a really cool place. Had a bunch of other stuff for sale. He had an easy-go golf cart that he was trying to hustle on. If you guys are familiar with the Cushman thing I got in the driveway, the little three-wheeled industrial cart. By industrial and battery powered, it was meant to drive around the factory and not emit fumes. He had one of those for sale. He was really pushing to sell that. He had a Volkswagen, Van Wagon, the Weekender edition for sale. It was a 1988. Looked like it was in halfway decent shape. I shot some pictures of that if anybody's interested. He had a John Deere tractor. I think it was called the 212, with a big Kohler engine on it. He was trying to move that along. Dodge truck with a fried transmission. He was trying for $1,700 on that. He runs a little flea market out of a barn that's on his property. Interesting character. Called himself Sticks. I asked if he called himself that because he played the drums, and he said, no, it's just I like to draw a certain way, and somebody told me it looked like Sticks, so he calls himself Sticks. It was cool meeting him. I wouldn't call him the Craigslist shark. He seems to sell a lot more on Craigslist than he buys. From the way he was describing his situation, he lived in that area forever and ever and ever, and so did his grandparents and parents, and everybody lived in that area forever. So I think he's just kind of well connected. Kind of cool that he has the old rail bed that he can run his bikes up and down. He had a 250X there that was his rider, and he had something with a 4x4. I think it was a Yamaha 4x4 that was in his garage. We didn't get over there. So anyway, cool guy, cool space. I just shot some cell phone pictures. I didn't bring my video camera with me, and if I did, I'm not quite sure he would have let me. I mean, some guy shows up from Craigslist and whips out his camera and starts filming all your stuff, right? That's the kind of crap a robbery's made out of. So I didn't bring my camera, didn't ask. I asked if I can shoot photos, and he said he didn't care. So if anybody's after a Volkswagen, the other thing he had was a 1970 Bridgestone TV something 100, which was interesting, but he's after real money for that. I think it was after $1,200 for that. He seemed to be broke, so if one wants to negotiate with him, but it's pretty hard to go from $1,200 down to, $50 or $75 where I like to be, or, I would have liked to beat him up a little bit more on this. He was after 150 for the frame and another 75 for all the parts. I basically gave him 150 for everything. So I don't think that's too bad. As you start adding things up, I don't know, what's a set of front shocks worth? What are the A-arms worth? And they, off the top of my head, they appear to be in okay condition. I'm not seeing anything wrong with that. The gas tank appears as if it could be usable. It came with the cap. Air box, the tote, the foot pegs. I don't know. You add all this crap up, you get to a halfway decent number. And once again, for me, I'm basically billing it against the 350, the 300EX, right? I figured I paid $300 for it plus another $150. So for $500 to have a valid bike with a valid serial number, he certified to me that this is not hot. He gave me a receipt. I have a copy of the Craigslist bills and all that other kind of stuff. He didn't seem nervous about it. As a matter of fact, I might just have the number run. Might just run the VIN number to make sure I don't have any problems before I start putting it all together. Then I'll be beating on his door for a refund if there is a problem. But he seemed to know the lineage of where it came from and knew why it was taken apart for the parts. Basically, the motor had a problem, so that was taken off first and then taken apart, and then kind of somebody took the head and somebody took this and somebody took that, so they weren't putting the motor back together again, and then somebody needed the tires, and he said by the time all was said and done he had almost nothing left, and that's why it's in its current condition. Anyway, folks, so 300EX, the kit bike. I want to thank you all for watching and commenting and subscribing. I want you all to keep your feet down, keep your heads up, and please, please get out there and enjoy all your days. Bye now, folks.